Welcome back to the Weekly News Roundup. These are recorded live Fridays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, only for the next 2 weeks. After having a discussion with everybody and discussing it on the stream last week, everybody agreed Thursday is a fine night for the show. And because there's so many other great live streams available that sometimes people have to pick and choose, we decided we're going to move our stream to Thursday night for the Weekly News Roundup to give the other streamers a chance to have some of the audience there as well. So hopefully that works out for everybody and you can catch the show live. Hopefully you can continue catching the show live if you do catch it live, or you will be able to catch the show live if you like us, but you like somebody else a little bit better. So looking forward to seeing how that performs. We're also going to be doing a little bit of a format shift on that same week, but we will explain more of that next time. Now into the news for tonight. This is going to be a little bit more of an odd news. Everything is related to tariffs, and this is a free trade stream. We're not discussing tariffs. You're either sick of it or you don't care about it, so we're not talking about it. So we booted business section out. We have privacy, security, AI, and SillyVille, and that is it. So it might very well be a short show, which is great because we got off to a late start. Anyway, let's go ahead and dive on into our privacy news first. And this one starts out with a malware bites. The responses to a survey, they said 72% of people are worried their data is being misused by the government, and that's not all. I originally saw this and I'll throw this out because this is just a survey based on people's opinions, not really based on, this isn't actually like, I don't know, some actual report that a whole lot of governments were found, but it was really a fascinating report because it really just kind of goes through. Now, they released a survey, and I think that the general population is significantly lower than these numbers because this was a survey done by the Malwarebytes newsletter subscribers. If you're on Malwarebytes newsletter subscribers and interacting with a comment, you're probably a security, probably a privacy-minded person. You care about these types of things. And so what ends up happening is you're going to be a little bit more favorable. So I think that the results of this survey are skewed way more towards privacy than the general population is. However, that being said, we are seeing a lot of people in the general population becoming a lot more aware of this. Some of this probably is because of all the rampant consumerism that people are buying on to the idea of privacy. And so all of these alleged privacy-based services are popping up where, I go on the internet and give every bit of my information to some company and they pinky promise to use that information to get my information off of other people's sites. To me, that just sounds a little odd, but hey, it very well may work. In fact, we have evidence that it does work. One data breach did not actually include data from people who were subscribed to one of those services. So maybe that's a good thing. Maybe I'm just a little bit too paranoid. Where's my tinfoil hat? All right. All that being said, however, the proliferation of VPNs, privacy companies, but then we're seeing a lot of news articles that are even now starting to get covered by mainstream media sources, and this is prompting a greater privacy argument. So while I think the numbers are much lower than the Malwarebytes report is confirming, I think it's probably a little bit higher than even they I would guess it would be otherwise. Now, all the rest of the article kind of went through a lot of the more recent things, from data breaches on the different platforms, the 23andMe situation. And then there's, of course, a mistrust. Of course, if you're here in America, 50% of the country thinks that the current government is the Antichrist at any given point in time. Even if, the elephants leave and the donkeys take over, still 50% thinks that the government is the Antichrist. It's just the opposite 50% than previously thought. And so everybody mistrusts everybody all the time. I mean, that's just par for the course as we go on. But what the arguments here made is that there's so many privacy bungles going on that it's actually causing more people to be aware. Now, what they're saying here, this is privacy concerns drive people away from platforms. Again, this is a response to a survey in a in a malware research company's newsletter. Okay, this is not Gen Pop. You walk down the street in any given city and ask these questions, you're gonna be like, I got nothing to hide, is what you're gonna hear more often than not from anybody. But among the people who are more conscious of privacy and security, that would be subscribing to Malwarebytes newsletter and responding to surveys inside of it, yeah, we are actually seeing a number of people leaving social media platforms because they are concerned about privacy and data being used. Not just social media, but also they pointed out fertility and period tracking apps as well, because if you remember back a number of years ago, this guy stomps on into a Target and starts yelling at the customer service for sending his daughter, like teenage daughter, coupons for like baby stuff as if she were pregnant. He's like, my daughter's, going into all this kind of stuff. And it turns out the daughter was pregnant. Target figured out she was pregnant based on the buying habits of the data they had collected and compared it to other people. And they knew she was pregnant before she knew she was pregnant. That's the type of stuff we're talking about that should cause a little bit of awareness. Kind of like the same thing with your Shoppers Club cards. And when King County out in Seattle wanted to raise more funds, they cross-referenced the people buying pet supplies on Shoppers Club cards with the people living inside their city who had actually bought a pet license. And anybody whose Shoppers Club card showed up as buying pet supplies but didn't have a pet license, they started sending threatening letters to those people. These are gross violations of privacy. And these are those issues. So you can see here 42% use a VPN. Again, you're not seeing 42% of the general population using a VPN. Okay, this is why I think that these numbers skew way more into the privacy section, but it's certainly probably more than 10 or 15%, maybe even more than 20% are considering or using a VPN on a regular basis. So that really is the point of the article, just to show up and basically show what was going on. Now, again, we were going to think about, like I was hemming and hawing about throwing this article out, but then this was just the perfect lead into the other two articles we had in the privacy section. So I thought it was great to cover. So the EU, they're all calling for, we gotta solve a bunch of stuff. Well, the EU, though, they are calling once again to backdoor all encryption. Now, the good news is France, one of the EU nations, took a strong stance against this and said, no, we can't do that. But again, it's protect the children, and the law enforcement can't get the data that they need, and we have to be able to tap into any system, and we pinky promise it's going to be an amazing, safe system, kind of like the Teleco backdoor. That's the system that allowed police to get warrants to spy on your phones, is what the Chinese hackers were using to collect everybody's phone records across all of the nationwide carriers. So, the reality is that there is no way you can make a backdoor on encryption that only the law enforcement can use it. Nobody else can. And even if that is the case, now you have to deal with the fact that there's corrupt cops in this world. Okay. And they're in America and they're in Mexico. There's some countries I've heard about when you drive through, you need to carry mug money with you to bribe the police when they try and shake you down. Okay. And so that is a reality in our world. So even if it's only the police we have a security hardened our back doors so well, only the police can get in there. The hacker will just come in and give the police officer $1,000 tip to let him in. And that's the type of stuff that happens and why this is pretty much nonsense. But of course, they're going out, protect the children, protect the children. Although I do notice that they did take down a major ring of nasty folks without having to backdoor the encryption. And they were all Tor users. They took them all down, arrested hundreds of people across the world. The idiots were using cryptocurrency. They thought that it was untraceable. Hint, it's not. Okay. But they were able to take down that whole nationwide ring without breaking encryption. So stop giving us this nonsense. Now, of course, where else are people scared about their data being used? Oh, that's right. UK is now experimenting with Minority Report. Yes, UK is creating a murder prediction tool to identify the people most likely to kill. I saw a documentary on this once. It was starring Tom Cruise, right? Now, in the Tom Cruise movie, though, they had these precogs that were basically the mentally ill children of drug addicts, one particular drug, right? If you follow the lore on the movie that closely, then what would end up happening there is that the children were born mentally ill with amazing telepathic like foresight, and when you put three of them together, they had synergy off each other, and if all three of them agreed, then it made this this specific ball that was identifying the pre-crime. So they had the pre-crime division, and most of the people that are watching this channel probably have known or seen or are familiar with this. So of course the idea is that the police go in and they bust the guy right before he commits the crime. Well, they're doing it basically like that, only rather than using drug-created precogs, instead what they're using is just the data that they're collecting everywhere. All of the data, and remember, these are guys that just forced Apple to open up all of their encryption to backdoor everybody utilizing Apple products who are UK citizens. And so now the UK government has collected and sopped up so much data. They're feeding into AIs, they're feeding it into algorithms, and they are trying to analyze which types of people are more likely to commit violent crimes so they can more preemptively help the people. So if you preemptively go and help somebody because you say, well, our computer algorithms have determined from the data that we've collected and analyzed that you are probably likely to commit a major crime, but you haven't committed it yet. We're just going to go ahead and commit you to this little insane asylum now, and now you're in that unfalsifiable circumstance. You're either crazy and you're declaring you're not, so therefore you're crazy, or you're crazy, right? So no matter you're crazy or not, once they point you out, you're a crazy person, because you're either crazy or you're denying that you're crazy, and the denial of being crazy is all the more crazy. That's the problem. Okay, so UK is trying to create this murder prediction tool to identify people most likely to kill, and the cornerstone of it is the massive amounts of data that they collect and analyze off of people. So that is wonderful news, isn't it? Aren't we all so happy about UK's newfound way of utilizing that backdoor encryption that they finally got access to and told Apple to stop decrypting stuff? And with that, we are going to jump on over to security news next. So first up in security news, of course, as the tax deadline is looming, of course, I'm a small business owner, so I have not completed my taxes yet. They're actually in the hands of my accountant. I should have them in the next couple days here. But as that occurs, scams always rise on these. So now we have just a new take on an old scam. This is the QuickBooks phishing scam. This year, they're doing a novel approach. They're doing the malvertising approach. So they are utilizing Google Ads to land you on landing pages, and they've identified a number of these fake landing pages that look like the QuickBooks login pages. So you'll see here, this is QuickBooks with, look at that extra C, and this is really quick Borks, quick Borks there, right? Accounting.com/home. You get in there, and of course they're using the modern technology that is going to bypass your potential attempts to 2FA. So here's what they're doing. On the first one here, you enter your email user or phone. This is exactly, I guess, like their login page. Enter your password, and then they want to, hey, verify it's you. And so what's going on here is they are using the information that you just supplied them. They are trying the account, and then what they're doing is they're waiting for you to input the code, and while they have this little circle screen here, that's them intercepting the message from you, feeding it in on their system, and now they have successfully logged into your Intuit account, and they can do all sorts of fun, nefarious things. And they have found that these phishers are able to get in here quite easily, and they've identified a number of these. They all look kind of like QuickBooks on a quick glance, but QuickBox, QuickBorks, Quicker Books, Quiff Books. So you can see that they're just off by a couple letters or so, but if you're just looking very, very quickly, then it looks legit. So just be aware, guys, if you're trying to do QuickBooks on an internet search, particularly if you're not running ad blockers, then you may very well click on one of these malvertising campaigns and end up giving a bunch of data to the hackers. And that's not going to turn out well for you, by the way. And on to this one here. Google has a new end-to-end encrypted messaging system, only it's not true end-to-end encryption. In fact, the way they're doing this end-to-end encryption, just like Microsoft is doing we're protecting your passkey for you, really they're protecting their passkey for you in such a way that allows them to decrypt the messages. So, when the UK police want to come in and investigate that message you just sent, they'll be able to decrypt it. So they're calling it end-to-end encryption, which is by the purest definition, maybe technically true. It's just an end-to-end encryption that other people can kind of get in there and see it as well. So what it's doing is it's starting the encrypted message. Now, this is tying into like a Gmail account. Typically, this is running towards like a service attached to a business account, like the Google business accounts. And so you have your Google business account, and they're using here Bob's organization. So we'll go ahead and continue on with this Bob motif here. So Bob goes in and constructs an email and clicks a button for encrypting the message. So they're creating then a symmetric encryption key, which is stored on the company. Bob's organizational server. The message is encrypted and it goes out to Alice. So Alice receives the message, and once she has verified herself through whatever method they're using, which means that it has to be a message sent out to some participating party, either a Gmail or probably an Outlook, something else with some form of authentication, then Alice can click the button, and once it's identified or verified, authenticated is the proper word, then it will reach back out to Bob's organizational server, grab the decryption key, and then it will decrypt it. So it's way easier than other forms of email encryption. But the problem is that decryption key is sitting on the organizational server. So any administrator who has access to the decryption key, which is, by the way, a Google server, they all can get in there and decrypt the message as well. And so it's not true end-to-end encryption, but it's another one it's sort of safe as long as the call is not coming from inside the house. But of course, the call is coming from inside the house because this man over here is accused of using keyloggers to spy on colleagues to log into their personal accounts and watch them at home like a crazy psycho stalker. So he is a pharmacist at a university here, University of Maryland Medical Center. So what Matthew did here is he installed keyloggers on at least 400 computers that were tied to the university, everywhere from computer labs, clinics, treatment rooms, all those types of places wherever he could get in there and install a keylogger, he was doing it. And he was specifically looking for young ladies' logins, and he had collected many young ladies' logins, and then went in there and spied on the young ladies through their logins, whether it was accessing their dating profiles to see their pictures or accessing their security cameras to watch them in the act. Or any other thing in between those two things. Now, there's 6 particular people who have been so far identified here, and they had lost information that basically this pharmacist got information for bank accounts, emails, home surveillance systems, Dropbox accounts, Google Drives, dating applications, Google Nests, and iCloud accounts. So the guy went in there and was able to access all these. Now, curiously, the people are not necessarily suing him, they're suing the university. I think this is kind of both parties are kind of guilty. Yeah, how was this pharmacist able to install malware on 400 computers by the university and nobody noticed? And how did he even gain access? How did a pharmacist, like if this were an IT guy, I could see it. This is a pharmacist, okay? So interesting. So they're basically alleging that the schools were were the problem here on the basis that they did not do enough to prevent the keyloggers from being installed. But I still think that the guy's the one ultimately culpable because he installed it and then he collected and used the information the way that he did. He said he used webcams installed on work computers for telehealth sessions to spy on new mothers pumping milk at work. And did the same through their home webcams. He spied on victims with their children at home and also watched them. And then he is said to have disabled the camera's operating lights so victims could not see they were being viewed. So this means he does have a degree of sophistication in what he's doing. So, of course, how to protect yourself. Malwarebytes always includes this type of stuff. It's all the same general stuff. They copy and paste it all in. I don't think really much of this is super applicable. Just be aware, guys, that even if you do the best security you can possibly do, you still have a whole lot of people inside your organization. But come on, we're laying off our entire staff and having AI take over everything. Yeah, somebody's going to get around those AI protections. I promise you. I promise you. So there is what we have as far as our security news. So if you want to help support the channel, we do use affiliates. Today we are highlighting Pro Writing Aid. If you use my affiliate, tlm.li/PWA, you can get 20% off which one? Not the free one, of course, the yearly edition of the paid or the paid pro version. Those are the 20% off the yearly subscriptions. Or you can get, I'm not sure if there's actually discounts applied on the lifetimes or not at this point in time. But that either one of them will help support the channel if you're interested. So I use Pro Writing Aid as a good privacy first writing tool to help me with mostly my editing and things like that. They do have some AI prompt stuff. I don't use that stuff, but as far as the grammar and the edits and things like that, I use all those functions in there as I'm working on editing books, which our next short story, by the way, is under progress as we speak. So we should have it out by the end of the month. So you can help out with it over there if you are into writing and you want to check out Pro Writing Aid, tlm.li/PWA, 20% off of your yearly plans premium or your premium pro. And they do have the free plans you can try as well if you are interested. And with that, let's jump on over to AI news next. First up in AI news, the Shopify CEO tells teams to consider using AI before growing the headcount. This new policy is insane because, all these guys like AI is not going to take anybody's jobs. It's just going to help support the jobs we already have. No, their new policy, they actually say the teams must demonstrate why AI cannot perform a job before they are permitted to ask for more hires. So literally the default position at Shopify, if you are a manager of a team, you have got to prove to the managers, to your leaders, that AI cannot do the performed task before you are allowed to ask for somebody else. So stop telling me that AI just supports the jobs we have. They're not taking jobs. Yeah, they are. They're taking jobs every time a CEO comes down and says, hey, use AI instead of hiring this person. Why? Well, the AI service is like a, $39.99 a month subscription, and the employee is like a $39,000 a year subscription, I mean, that's really the reality of it. But of course, that's kind of what's going on. Now, this is what I thought was really hilarious down here at the bottom, because if you remember, it was 3 weeks ago, I was over at Fresh Vintage's house when Klarna comes out and it's like, hey, you can pay your DoorDash order with Klarna, right? So I can go ahead and break that cheeseburger delivered by DoorDash into 4 easy payments. Goes down as smooth as a milkshake that you bought with DoorDash. So Sebastian, whoever his name is, the chief executive of Klarna, has boasted about how Klarna's AI chatbot does the work of 700 customer service agents. He also said that thanks to AI, Klarna's workforce could eventually be reduced to just 2,000 people, and Klarna currently employs 4,000. Okay, so let's talk about this. So right now they employ 4,000 people, but he says that their AI chatbots does the work of 700 customer service agents. So they should have 4,000 2,700 people working there. But thanks to AI, they only have 4,000 people working there. That means 700 people have lost their jobs. Then he says it could eventually be reduced to 2,000. So that means 2,700 jobs are lost to AI so that Klarna can continue to split out your cheeseburger and milkshake payments into 4 easy payments for your overpriced DoorDash. Meanwhile, you're complaining about how high the prices are. The poor man can't get ahead. The poor man ain't ever going to get ahead as long as you keep financing a cheeseburger. Okay? Come on, folks. Come on. But yes, it is true. AI is going to take jobs. As of 2024, Shopify had 8,100 employees. The year prior, they laid off 20% of its staff. January, they reportedly quietly laid off employees in its customer service division, according to Business Insider, because AI is indeed taking our jobs. But not everybody's jobs, as we will see. Before we get into that, though, of course, we have these stupid Know Your Customer rules that should be abolished, because all the Know Your Customer rules do is make it much more difficult for those of us to do services with privacy in mind, and it just empowers more hackers to get out there and steal more of your IDs. Well, this guy used ChatGPT 4.0 to create a replica of his passport in 5 minutes, and that passport passed the automated Know Your Customer verification checks. And so this guy comes out, it's like, oh yeah, well, thanks to ChatGPT 4.0, now we can basically just create passports and scan them through. So they basically say here that all of these automated Know Your Customer checks, they're all just meaningless now. So that's great, because now we just need to have more people verifying everything, which basically is going to make it harder to do anything at all. But that's exactly what they want. Eventually, it's just going to be a very nice and easy device. It's just going to be this one little simple verified authenticated chip that you're going to put it in your hand, or if you don't have one, in your forehead, and then you'll just wave that over to engage in any form of commerce you need, and they'll know exactly who you are. Of course, you will now be a servant of Satan and have the mark of the beast, but that's a different story altogether that you can read about on my Christian channel at Our Walk in Christ. Okay, so with that being said, though, the ChatGPT can indeed come over here and create these. Now, once he released this report, the OpenAI did a little tweaking things, making it much more harder to have ChatGPT create your passport for you. So there you go, guys. Know Your Customer is dead because ChatGPT took care of that one as well. And of course, we did want to mention here the case where AI is not necessarily taking up jobs, and we do have another guy that's facing some legal issues, and he's unfortunately facing some legal issues for fraud because he had an AI shopping app called Nate. If you remember anything about Nate, I don't remember if we've talked about it in the past. This was one of those first, it was supposed to be like the first breakthrough agentified AI. You use your Nate service and it's going to scour across the internet and make all these purchasing decisions for you. It does all these different things. Well, as it turned out, Nate had no AI working at all. They had effectively their AI automation rate was effectively zero. Everything that was being done in the app was just being done by Filipino contractors. So you go into, you're using Nate, you're like, hey, Nate, here's my credit card to go and buy me toothpaste. And like Nate goes out and does this thing. You're like, this is awesome. The AI has just bought me toothpaste and all this kind of crap. Meanwhile, it turns out that Nate was just feeding the information down to a Filipino boiler room, and the Filipinos were taking your credit card and processing all of the orders and delivering everything out, kind of like Amazon had the stores that you'd walk in and you'd grab stuff and you just walk out, and then some people are like, why is it like 4 hours before I get my final bill and it's finally charged? Well, because they didn't have any AI cameras going on in the background. All of that video footage was being shipped on down to another boiler room, probably in the Philippines or another country, where they were just watching every person going in and out and kind of making the best decisions, and every single thing was being done not by AI but by another third world country boiler room. So it does turn out that AI does tend to actually be good for the job employment. It's just the third world job employment where people can pay an entire boiler room like $5 a day to split amongst themselves in order to do all the tasks that they're claiming is all AI. So of course, this guy's going to go to jail for a while for fraud, because after all this kind of stuff fell out, the entire stock crashed. They had raised, I think they said in 2018, they raised $50 million from investors. And then they recently raised another $38 million led by another VC group. And then when all this kind of stuff comes out, effectively their stock drops to zero because there was no AI stuff. And so now all of these partners are going, I think you kind of defrauded us, Nate. We'd like our money back now. And that tends to send these tech CEOs to jail. So I don't know, maybe he'll get a nice little room with that, the lady of that other tech medical startup company. They can kind of work together. They can maybe share a jail cell and then pop out of prison at the same time and come up with the next greatest thing that's going to dupe the next round of VCs. And then we'll just go ahead and proceed like every other one of these big fintech startups do, where they just get out there, get a bunch of VC capital, live on the Ritz for about 3 or 4 years, burn through all the cash, and then claim bankruptcy and just wash, rinse, repeat. And that kind of is why we have a big problem with crap in this country. So there's what we have there, folks. And I think what we're going to do next is jump on over to your favorite place and mine. Let's go to SillyVille, folks. We have to talk about KFC all the time. I know last time I left you with that article that has turned me off of KFC. I'm just not going into KFC for a long time. After that whole cannibals baptizing the dude in gravy and then, passing him around while chanting praises to the golden egg, I'm just not all into KFC right now. Y'all done me in, okay? I loved KFC. I'm not shopping at KFC for a while. Bojangles all the way, folks. Bojangles all the way. Maybe some Popeyes. I don't know. I am not into KFC, but it's just the meme on this channel at this point in time. KFC does so many crazy things, and we have covered every crazy story KFC has ever done, so we're going to have to cover KFC's new Kentucky Fried Chicken flavored toothpaste. Blah! Blah! That's disgusting. Nothing says good morning like the smell of mashed potatoes and 11 herbs and spices on your teeth, right? Oh, so yeah, Kentucky Fried Chicken toothpaste, folks. And you can have a look over on the website. Is it his High Smile, I guess? I don't know. Here's the KFC toothpaste. And you can see that's all sold out, unfortunately. It was like $14. So it's $13. Or look at this, 4 equal payments. At least they're doing Afterpay instead of Klarna or whatever that crap is, 4 even payments. That's right, guys. You can now finance your Kentucky Fried Chicken toothpaste. 4 easy payments of $3.25. Or you can do $13 all up front. What's that? 3, 4, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's actually 25 cents cheaper if you use Afterpay. Isn't that funny? Very interesting. With the club membership price, you can, it's $19.99 per month. Like, is that 1 or 2? I don't know. Is it $13? Or if you break it up, it's 25 cents cheaper and it's $7 more if you are on the subscription service. I have no idea, folks, but this is Fingerlickin bad. Ew. Of course, you can also get the toothpaste, which they are also sold out of that. I don't know if they've ever sold these. So here you go. $59. You can get the KFC electric toothbrush. Nothing says good like that nasty crap. Isn't that gross? Well, on to a next one. Another funny thing about AI is it doesn't understand the nuance of human society. It can't catch sarcasm, and it doesn't really know what jokes are, which is exactly why Google tells us to put glue on pizza to keep the cheese from falling off. Because it doesn't understand that came from a Reddit post where somebody was trolling. Somebody said, my cheese keeps slipping off. So it's like, hey, can you try some glue? And the Google's AI says glue must be the solution. Well, now we're seeing a new thing with all of these AIs out here now scouring over and creating all of these factual summaries. And you see, this world has this major problem called April Fool's Day, which I'm not a huge fan of April Fool's Day. I'm just not a jokester. I'm not a practical joker. And I am very, very careful with all my news articles from April Fool's Day because you don't know what's true and what's not. You really got to do that extra due diligence of vetting things. And that's exactly what AI never does. So this is a guy who every year, like he has a big blog, I guess, and every year he just puts up joke articles on April Fool's Day. But Google's AI picked up on this April Fool's joke and started feeding it into its actual algorithms, and now the entire world thinks that this one little town in Wales has a population just under 50,000, holds the Guinness World Record for the most roundabouts, which is not true. He completely made the story up, made up a random number, threw it in there, and then made up some fake quotes from individual people. And Google picks it up and starts reporting to the entire internet that, and I don't even know, how do you pronounce this? This is in Wales, yet it looks like it's spelling somewhere else. CWMBRAN. I have no idea how to pronounce that, folks. Call me a pasty American. I don't know. But this town in Wales, population just under 50, it does not have the most roundabouts. But I will say, in my travels this year, I saw the peak insanity. I saw a roundabout on a bike trail in Florida. What is wrong with you people in Florida? Roundabouts are stupid for drivers. Now you want a roundabout on a bike trail? Anyway, so AI does not understand the nuance of jokes. It doesn't understand what April Fool's Day is, and telling it to fact check itself is not always a good option. As you tell it it's wrong, it tries to hide itself more and more. So this guy is actually concerned that, yeah, if this happened to me, maybe we should be a little bit more concerned about AI because it can't protect the nuance. And by the way, this article was from a while ago. This is not a new article. It just somehow picked it up. Whatever reason. So that's what happened with trolling the AI there. I feel like I lost an article, but I'll check on that, and it'll be a bonus for those watching live if I did actually miss an article in there. But if I didn't, anyway. But if you want to help support the channel, we do have a Patreon page, patreon.com/TOMM. You can jump on over there. We have various levels of support. You can, for $5 and up, you can download the Code Red, the last year's edition of short stories in the audiobook or the EPUB edition. If you are a $5 or up subscriber on Patreon, you can do that. So patreon.com/TOMM. Thank you for watching and hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.